Hi guys, my name is Kat from Vegan Diver Kat, and today I'm doing a little bit of a relaxed video where it's a bit of a story time, so sharing with you my experience scuba diving with humpback whales. Now for those of you guys who do not know, I do have a podcast called the Pancake podcast, and I just had an amazing guest called Chris, who is with the Kohola film project, filming whales in Hawaii. Now, if you want to learn more about humpback behaviors, why humpbacks are the icon of conservation, I highly recommend you either watch the video, which I'm putting up somewhere, or stream the podcast on your favorite streaming device. So we have Spotify, we have all the usual suspects. So head on over and check it out. For now, here is my story of diving with humpback whales. Now, I've always wanted to see a humpback whale underwater. Like many of you, I think humpbacks are one of the most incredible mammals, and wow, the opportunity to dive with them, insane. Now, the first time I dove with one, I believe it was July of 2015, when I was actually on a liveaboard trip from Townsville for 7 days on the, why am I forgetting the name of the boat I was on now? Anyway, I'll include it down below. I had an incredible time where I was actually leading a group of divers from my university dive club, Uni Dive. I was there with one of my best friends in the world, Perrin, who was also another, he was a dive master at that point. Now he's an instructor, marine biologist, a very inspirational person. Yeah, so we were guiding our divers. I had a couple of students on board with me. Hi guys, if you're watching. Absolutely incredible. So every single dive we did was phenomenal. We got to dive the Yongala wreck, which if you have ever dived or not dived, go check it out. It's off the coast of Townsville, I believe, and it's stunning. It's got incredible biodiversity, and the fact that it's a wreck in the middle of not much else, a lot of megafauna actually aggregate in this situation. Unfortunately, it is an actual wreck, so the ship sunk and lives were lost, so the whole ship is a sacred spot, so you shouldn't be going inside the wreck or disrespecting where people have died. However, you're allowed to dive around the outside and witness the amazing flora and fauna that have grown on this skeleton of a ship. Now, on this 7-day trip, we went out to the Great Barrier Reef. We were doing dives, and I very clearly remember I was doing the advanced course. Now, if you are a PADI scuba diver, welcome. And if you're not sure what the advanced course is, highly recommend you looking at my whole PADI dive courses list, where I talk about the different dive courses. So advanced is level 2. You have to do 5 different specialty dives, and yeah, so you're doing your 5 dives, and each of them is a little bit different. So I believe on that ship we were doing peak performance buoyancy, navigation, deep, I think it was a night dive, and then potentially fish ID. I don't remember the 5th that well. It was a little while ago. Anyway, we had done all of our dives already, and I believe this was the last dive of those 5. The whole trip was about 13-14 dives, so once my students had completed the course, they would continue diving, but now as certified advanced divers. So we were in this beautiful little sandy patch. It was not deep at all. I believe it was about 13 meters or so, just because deeper than 5 meters is comfortable enough where your buoyancy doesn't change quite as quickly, so you can really work on, controlling your buoyancy. In the first 5 meters as you go underwater, that is the greatest pressure difference from 1 atmosphere on the surface to 1.5. So it's a massive change percentage wise. If you want me to talk more about actual buoyancy in a separate video, I would love to chat to you guys about it. But this is about humpback whales. And I remember my student Carlos was just finishing off his last skill. So the skill that I had my advanced students do is they would swim over a weight and they would have to pick it up without changing position in the water. So the way they would do this is by compensating the weight of the weight by adding air into their lungs. This is an exercise which really helps people understand the power of their lungs and how much your lungs can help in buoyancy, since an average set of lungs can hold about 4.5 liters of air, which makes a lot of difference in the water if it's full or if it's empty. So he was picking this up, he put it back down, he did an excellent job, he's an amazing diver, currently back in the UK, not that much diving over there I believe. Oh yeah, before we continue with the story, I also want to do a massive shout out to Leaf Shave, who are sponsoring this video and actually all my videos this month. They're a fantastic company which makes razors that are not from plastic, allowing you to save money, plastic, and our planet while getting a really great shave. They're unisex, they're for boys, girls, and it is an upfront investment for about $70. However, you get razors which I have used like 3 of my blades and I've owned it for a year and a half. Cannot recommend it anymore. Head on down to check it out, Leaf Shave, and yeah, let's get back to the video. And I was putting the weight back in my pocket. Now I had integrated weight, so I kind of had to twist a little bit and I was like putting it into the pocket and suddenly I see it. I see this enormous mass, maybe 15 meters away from me, just coming out of the gloom. When I say it's big, I don't know how to quite describe how big this creature really is. It's like a bus. I mean, it was, I think, a juvenile, so it was still a relatively young humpback whale, but it was massive. I mean, I almost dropped my reg out of my mouth. I was shocked. You don't expect to see humpback whales on a scuba dive, let alone in 13 meters of water, let alone in the middle of an advanced course. And I just first instinct kicked in, let my students know. Now, if you're a scuba diving instructor, you know that one of the biggest parts of your job is making sure that your students enjoy their dive. How will they enjoy their dive? If they see as many cool things as possible. So immediately my hand, which is trying to shove this weight in, is holding the weight. With my other hand, I grab onto my shaker and start ding-a-ling-a-linging. So I have this Myers shaker and I'm going ding 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 ding, and it's such a loud noise. I mean, I've had people be upset with me that I use this because it is so loud and apparently annoying. However, I think it's a very important safety mechanism to be able to get the attention of my students if they get distracted, if they're potentially touching something they shouldn't be. So I use it as an instructor to get my students' attention. Now in this case, I think we were all happy I had it because I started shaking that thing with such furiosity that everyone at the dive site heard it. Now, a lot of the people on this particular boat were students of mine or people who've dived with me already, so they could recognize my shaker. Shakers also kind of have different pitches and tones, so if you dive with someone long enough, you will know whose shaker is what. Some are a little bit more gentle, and this is just like a rattling, it's like banging pots together. It's loud, and I was shaking at such a speed that all of my students and all my dive buddies were like, either Kat is dying or there's something really, really cool. Everyone looked up, or not everyone, most people looked up to see what was happening, and I'm so happy a lot of my students and my friends and my colleagues actually saw this amazing humpback whale swimming by. I cannot describe the feeling it had. And the most surprising thing to me in that moment, I remember thinking, they're so silent. And underwater, you don't really think about it, but you're constantly hearing noise. You're hearing your bubbles. You can hear the coral reef clicking and groaning. You can hear parrotfish munching on coral reef. You hear your students kicking their fins together. You can hear the crunch if someone kicks a coral. But you're hearing things underwater. And this majestic, magnificent, probably 6-7 meter long humpback whale was gliding in 13 meters of water silently, with such grace, with such power. I was awestruck, apart from the dinging and making sure all my students saw it. I cannot express to you how incredible that experience was, and how many years of diving and how many dives led up to that moment. And it probably only lasted 20 seconds, but it felt like an eternity, and at the same time, no time at all. The whole world slowed, and this humpback whale just cruised past, and I was with my friend Perrin and with our 2 students, and it was honestly, to this day, one of the best dives of my life, because it is the first time I ever got to see a humpback whale. Since that time, I have had the enormous pleasure and opportunity to actually live in Comoros for 8 months, which is a little island north of Madagascar. Comoros is actually the country. I lived on Moheli, which is one of the smallest islands. And I got to dive with them, snorkel with them many more times. And in those latter times, I actually had the connections. I had the full interactions. I had like the eye contact and basically the communications with a baby wanting to play and everything like that. So if you guys want to hear more about my humpback whale interactions in Comoros, I can do a whole separate video because I have so many stories about that. But I really just wanted to share with you that first interaction and how it's worth it. However many dives you do, when you see that creature, it will take your breath away. Remember to keep breathing for safety, but our seas are so magnificent. These creatures are so beautiful, and it's absolutely no surprise to me that humpback whales are the face of conservation. And I'm so thrilled that due to the conservation efforts, they are now rebounding. Their populations are doing really well. They are off the endangered species list, and it's all thanks to people like you who care, who take the time to learn about these creatures and stand up for our planet. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. It means the world to me that you're here with me on the Ocean Pancake journey. If you want to join the family, head on over to the Facebook group. We almost have 1,000 ocean warriors there, 1,000 people talking about all things ocean, starting discussions, sharing things. I would love to see you there, and send me a message. I want this conversation to be always, this is a community, and yeah. What is your humpback whale experience? Where have you dived with them? Let me know down below. And yes, I'll see you guys next time.